We are kicking it off. My name is Barry Rapkin. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer of Identified Technologies. We've been featured by TEDx, NBC, CNN, Inc., Business Times, US Magazine, TechCrunch, and South by Southwest for our drone leadership and innovative technology. And I'm here today to tell you a little bit more about sort of the drone industry and what they can do for you and specifically for industrial applications. The real reason we're here is because there is a problem. There is a need in the industry. About 90% of projects end up running later or over budget versus planned. And the reason for that isn't because anyone's stupid or lazy. It's because the information hasn't been there to have the job done on time and on budget. Every day, project managers are asked to do the impossible. They go to war with a mountain of paperwork, and they have to communicate with their leadership, their contractors, their customers, while having perfect visibility to every change on every massive job site all simultaneously. Some of these job sites might be 100, 200, 1,000 acres, and it's an impossible job. You can't be three places at once, and sometimes something has to give. Sites are still managed the same way today largely that they were 20 years ago. Construction is done off of rolled up paper blueprints. Managers walk the site with clipboards taking notes and pictures, and all stakeholders have to physically visit the job site to check the progress. And the reason that aerial overhead data has only been traditionally rarely captured is because it's so expensive and the delays for it are so prohibitive. So the big issues have been that it's basically impossible to make fast, informed decisions without consistent job site visibility. It's inefficient because expensive contractors and rental equipment often go unused due to bottlenecks that could have otherwise been prevented. There's project delays because, well, you're busy waiting for customers to get out to the site to approve portions of work and release funds. The project's running late. It causes low profits because when projects go over budget, and when expenses are higher than expected or things have to be redone, that comes directly out of the construction company's profits. And it can lead to lost customers who experience disappointment on their projects. They may not use you again. They may stop mid-project or even file lawsuits. So how do drones help? They're accurate. They're automatic. They're nearly real time, so you're not waiting months to get back job site data. You may have it back in hours. And you get the job site visibility you need, tracking every change and every inch of the job site. And they let you securely share it with your team, your customers, your contractors, and your stakeholders. So who are we? Identified Technologies builds and leases world's only automated project insight system. We work with major players. We're not a drone company. We're not a service provider. You can think of us not like buying a vacuum or hiring a maid, but more like a Roomba, a tool that you use that will actually take care of the need for you. It'll just take care of things automatically. So for our agenda today, I'm going to take you through just some basics that really everybody should know about drones in the drone industry. And then I'll get into our main topic for today, which is what is the real value of mapping drones? And obviously that's something we think about a lot, and I'm sure it's something you think about too. And if you're excited about if you think you see the potential, but you need to get internal support from your team and you want to make sure it's really a good decision and the right decision for your organization, we may be able to give you some insights and kind of understand how you can apply them, how they can save you money and make a difference in the way you do business, and what kind of money they can save you. So first off, RC planes and helicopters have been around for many, many decades. And you kind of can tell that by the 80s haircut and jeans in the photo on the right. So if they've been around for so long, why is it that drones have suddenly taken off? Pun intended. Well, the user experience for most people using these old-fashioned traditional toys was this. They may be fun for a few minutes, maybe even an hour, but they're just toys. You can't do anything with them, and they're really hard to steer, and they're flimsy. So sooner or later, they're gonna dive bomb and crash, and there's no real professional application for them. So what changed? Why is there this sudden massive interest in drones? Well, it's a combination of government and private sector innovation. NASA came out with powerful miniaturized flight controllers. The United States Navy has put out really top-notch GPSs, which they originally developed in large machines, but now most of us have just in our smartphones. You have digital cameras that have extremely high resolution, that are miniaturized and low power consumption. And you have miniaturized sensors like accelerometers and gyroscopes, again, built into most of our smartphones. So all of those innovations combined with the model aircraft open up a really amazing new range of possibilities and capabilities. So we see some of those, just for example, some of these early applications are real estate, people catching aerial views of houses, they can show off the roof quality and just show like a beautiful view of the house and the neighborhood. They can be used for sports, capturing shots that would have been otherwise impossible, especially aerial shots. They're being used for movies, for TV commercials. Amazon is testing, experimenting, doing deliveries. So anytime you need a product, you'll just have a drone drop it off. And we're even starting to see some really novel and valuable applications, just for example, in healthcare, where if someone's suffering from a heart attack, there'll be a number that you can call, and a drone will immediately come that will give you the equipment if anyone's nearby to re-stimulate your heart. And there may be situations where for an ambulance, it would take 10 or 15 minutes to fight through traffic and get to a location. By then it may be too late, or permanent damage can already be done. Now a drone can just fly there and save a life. So drones have some really exciting potential. And they're probably being used in your industry too. You're seeing drones used in agriculture, in construction, in landfills, mining, oil and gas, mapping, and surveying. And some people think that, oh, great, again, drones are a cool toy. I can snap a few photos. I can take a few videos. But there's no real professional application. Not true. You can go so far beyond photos and videos. You can automate advanced surveying, mapping, and monitoring. You can do 2D distance measurements. You can do precision 3D volumetric analysis, maybe for aggregate piles in a mine, or earth-moving projects for construction or excavation. You can do 3D point clouds, contour line maps. You can capture digital surface models, or DSM, or orthomosaic overlays. You can do site risk prevention and response. For this example, you could look around a pipeline to see if there's any rust or corrosion. Or you could also look to see if vegetation is dying off because of a potential gas leak. And you can also do as built versus as planned. So you would actually take the blueprint of the job, overlay it with the actual job, and make sure everything is going according to plan, and see if anything is off spec. And we are very close to a few things that we're already beta testing, adding sense and avoid capabilities. So if, let's say, when you originally planned the project, it was just an open excavation area and it was just dirt. And then on the third week, you bring in a massive crane and the drone didn't know that. Well, no problem. It'll just automatically fly around the drone. We're adding gas detection and methane sensors, thermal imaging, and multispectral as well. And in terms of, well, what drone is right for you? Well, it really depends on your needs. There is no perfect drone. Each one has their own specific applications, just like, a sports car might be good for some things and a minivan might be good for others. But if you're like most industrial companies, you do understand that drones are the future, but you don't know where to start. You don't know what's right for you. And it can be a little overwhelming. There's dozens of commercial drones, and to find the right one for your applications can be a struggle. So it's really all about finding the right drones for your specific needs. And if you're the U.S. military, that might be a $93 million Global Hawk from Northrop Grumman. It can fly at about 360 miles per hour and can fly for 28 hours straight. Or it may, if you just want to snap a couple of photos, Phantom from DJI might be the perfect choice. It's around $1,000. And, again, it's about finding the right tool for your specific application and needs. And when you think about, well, why use a drone? How are we different from alternatives? Well, you basically have a few different options. You cannot capture the data. And the trouble there is you really don't know what's happening on your job site. If, let's say, an excavation company is charging per truck of dirt that they're hauling off, well, each truck might be a third full or 2/3 full, which not only means that you might be overpaying, but it means you really don't know how long the job's going to take, or if you need to speed things up. You really want to track the results day to day and week to week and month to month, and we empower that. So, it's pretty clear that it's good to have some kind of tracking available on site. And there's only really a few options for that. You can do aerial surveys. The issue there, they're very expensive, easily $15,000 to $20,000. They might take a month to book. The actual data collection may only be a few hours or a day, but then you're looking at probably another month or 2 months to actually get the data back. And then unfortunately, by the time you have the data back, the site's changed because you haven't been sitting on your hands for those 2 or 3 months. So now the data is not really that useful. You can do a manned survey team. But again, on a even kind of standard job site, 100 acres, that can easily cost $20,000 for a 2-person team to cover the whole site. And again, it takes time to process and aggregate that data. Might be a month or two. And by the time you have the data, it's just not that useful anymore because the site's changed. So where identified technologies is different, if you want, you can map the site every month, every week, every day. You can have unlimited updates with one of our low-cost monthly subscriptions. Our data gathering time for a 100-acre site is 9 minutes. That's how long it takes to take off, fly the area, capturing all the data, come back, land, scan the data to the cloud, and then to process it just takes a few hours. So you'll basically be able to see exactly the results on the site almost with continuous real-time precision. And there's a big push in really the entire industrial industry to be more efficient, squeeze out savings. And a big part of that means automating repetitive data capture work. You just don't want to have people, especially at a high cost, doing the same job over and over and over again if a machine can do it, in many cases, more accurately and more inexpensively. So if there is, of course, another option, right? So let's say you do want to capture the data. You don't want to you don't want to pay an aerial survey company. You don't want to pay a professional surveying crew to do it, but you want to bring it internally and you want to manage your own drones. Absolutely an option. So this would be the process if you want to do that. You would need to get set up with the FAA. You need a 333 exemption in the US to be able to legally fly commercially. You need to build your own computing, server and processing center that will take the data, process the data, basically put it all together and warehouse it and manage it and give all the correct stakeholders secure access to it. You need to take the risk or get insurance both for the drone and the use of the drone on site. And you need to hire, train, and manage pilots for the drones as well. And if you do all that, then your process, once you actually have the drone, is going to look like the arrows that you see below. So you're going to need a KML with the map perimeter. You're going to need to lay ground control points. You'd need to create and upload the flight plan that you want the drone to fly so they can capture the data. You'd need to fly the drone or have your pilots do it. You need to geotag the data, transfer the data to the processing center, process it. You need to store and manage the data. And then finally, at that last step, this is where it gets good. You get to finally analyze and collaborate with your team on the data and get those insights that's been the point of the whole process. Fortunately, if you do decide to use identified technologies, it's a little different. For a one-time setup, you need to choose the KML with the map perimeter, which basically just means you send us a Google map letting us know where you'd like to fly. For one time, you need to set ground control points, which basically just means putting an X on the ground. And the drone will fly automatically. You just push a button and the drone flies itself. And then we take care of everything. Again, the drone flies itself. It scans the data to the cloud. It processes the data and gives it back to you so you can securely share it with your team. And at that point, you can just collaborate and analyze it. You don't have to do any manual piloting yourself. It's very scalable. If you have one site today, and you want to expand this out to different parts of the country or different parts of the world, it's very, very easy, and it's a highly reliable commercial grade product. And when I talked about KMLs, this is what you'd see. It's literally, you would just go on Google, just show us the area that you want covered, and then you'd lay ground control points or GCPs, which is, again, basically just an X on the ground that we can see from overhead. And that only has to be done one time. And then once that's done, you can have unlimited flights of the drone, continuously flying the area, capturing and mapping it, uploading and processing the data to give you constant updates. And you can do things like heat maps. You can do excavation progress to see earthwork, how much is being moved, to make sure that you're actually going to be on time. If it looks like you're going to be late, you can catch that early and bring in more contractors or more equipment. Or you can compare different sites. Maybe one site is actually moving at double the speed of another, and you know which contractors to use next time, or who to put in charge. So again, with the drone, you can capture 2D distance measurements, 3D volumetric analysis, 3D point clouds, contour line maps, digital surface models, orthomosaic overlays. You can do site risk prevention and response, and you can do as-built overlays. And actually, inventory tracking is one thing I didn't mention. Just on a big site, it can be hard to know which trucks were there, which days, which equipment was available. This gives you a secure digital copy, so you know day to day, week to week, exactly what was there. And I'm going to just show you a couple of videos. Anybody can sort of say that this technology exists or it's out there, but I want to actually show you our technology in action. So you might show up to a job site. You toss the boomerang drone on the ground. It's called the boomerang because you send it out and it comes back by itself. You have your region of interest. You literally just push the button on the drone, it takes off, flies itself. You don't have to have anybody piloting it. After it maps the area, it will automatically return home, land itself, send the data up to the cloud, where it's all processed together in higher precision centimeter resolution maps, and you can automatically track changes on the site, whether they're in buildings or land, whatever you need. And it's comparable to LiDAR accuracy. And this is about 200 times faster than the speed of traditional ground surveys. So I'm also going to show you how our app works, so you can get a little bit more familiar with it. So we have two different versions. One is a PC app. Right here. So after you map the site, you can choose whichever date you want to check. If you have different job sites, you can check those too. You can zoom in on each area. You can jump forward and backward in time. It's easy to kind of search around. It's very intuitive format. You can access cut and fill maps to see where Earth has been moved and progress over time and how it changes week to week or day to day. You can see it in terms of earthwork charts to get exact numbers. And again, that'll show you both totals and weekly. And we don't lock anything in. Anytime you want, you can download the 2D assets or 3D assets and either share them with your clients or use your own software. And we export to all major sort of mapping software. And then if you want to use our app, this is ready for mobile as well. You would just open the app. You can create a new project. If you're anywhere near Pittsburgh, this is Bakery Square near East Liberty. The app will automatically jump in and target it. Just like we showed you earlier, you just choose your region of interest. You just lay down a few points and it'll automatically make a shape mapping it. And you choose your takeoff point. And then the software will actually automatically make the flight plan. So the drone knows exactly where to go to capture the data as efficiently as possible. So that brings us to the main topic of today's webinar, which is what is the real value of drone mapping? So it's a great question. And as we've sort of touched on, inaccurate and outdated site mapping data is a constant thorn in the side of every industrial company. It leads to project delays, bottlenecks, stress, and cost overruns. And construction managers know that a self-piloting mapping drone gives them continuous job site visibility and tracking and the information that they need for faster and better informed decisions. But what's the real value to that? We recently had a meeting with someone that said, "Man, it's really cool. I mean, it's innovative, it's amazing, but what's the real value?" So that's what we're here to talk to you about. And there's three main things that mapping drones can help you and your business with. It's productivity analysis, it's quality control, and it's stakeholder communications. Those three things. And I think probably every company out there, those are what make them successful for every construction company. They have to make sure that they're productive and efficient. They have to make sure that their quality is there, that they're doing what they said they were going to do, and that their clients are going to be satisfied. They have to make sure that their stakeholders are involved in the process, feel good about it, and that there's no surprises. And we really help give you the tools to improve in all those areas and differentiate yourself from the competition in a meaningful and cost-effective way, rather. So what we've done is provided a quick guide to help understand the value that smart mapping drones bring to your company in both increased revenues and decreased costs. So for the first one, productivity analysis. Better productivity analysis is one of the greatest advantages of deploying a drone. So let's compare it to traditional manned aircraft or ground survey. Well, now you can very accurately check data. You can check inventory. You can check volumetric earthwork cut and fill progress to minimize labor and rental costs. You can decrease contractor costs. You can decrease data collection time. You could end the need for third-party data gathering and processing, which can be, easily 20 grand per update. You would end the need for third-party secure data storage and management because our tool does everything. You accurately estimate the time needed for contractors and equipment, so you don't end up late. You can compare the cost per equipment rental unit of progress for contractors by site. So if you have, let's say, 3 different excavation companies working on 3 different projects, you can see which ones move the fastest and where you're getting the most results per dollar. Maybe one's a little more expensive than the others, but they work at double the speed. Well, that's good to know. And with that, you can compare the pace of progress for contractors by site, which lets you complete projects faster, meaning more projects per year, meaning more revenue. And we had a nice quote from Seneca Resources, from their GIS manager. We were mapping doing a volumetric map of an impoundment pond in PA for them. And they said, "We've never seen anything like this. My team and I were amazed by the speed of the boomerang, and the accuracy proved to be more than adequate for our needs. Cutting our survey time down to just a few minutes while maintaining sub-centimeter mapping precision is a game changer for us." So next up is, next up is a job we did for Kokosing, where they had this massive mountain in Kentucky that they had to cut through. And it required both precise measurement and an accurate estimate of the amount of stone that needed to be removed. And unfortunately, it was a really steep mountain, and the treacherous terrain made it a dangerous job site, which would be tough and potentially hazardous for a manned survey team. So when the Kentucky Department of Transportation selected Kokosing Construction for a pair of sites for a new highway in Pike County, the contractor turned to Identified Technologies, and we used a single drone to survey 2 separate 1,000-acre sites in Elkhorn City, Kentucky. It was done quickly, and they were able to cut over 100 grand in project costs using the boomerang drone. That was a savings for them, they said, of about 86% compared to traditional surveying alternatives. And just a nice quote that we got from Bill Clifford, the head surveyor at Kokosing on the project, was, "Without updated mapping data, when we stockpile aggregate, we just have to guess at the actual volumes, not knowing if the ground underneath is level. With the updated topographical maps that the boomerang system provides, we knew exactly what our rock volumes were." That's from Bill Clifford. And you can see the scale of this project on the map there. That giant mountain on the left got turned into a nice open safe highway. And actually, I'm gonna take 1 second. This is unscripted, but hopefully you'll like it, and show you a really cool fly-through video that we were able to make for that job, and that we can do for any job. And what this shows is we mapped the area, and then we turned it into an interactive 3D fly-through video that really shows off the scale of the project. And Bill Clifford was able to show his whole leadership team, the clients, and everybody the scale of what they were achieving. And they were really impressed. These were people that either it would have been a huge cost for them to come out on site, or it just wouldn't have happened. And it gave them a real appreciation for the kind of results and the quality that they were getting, and they all felt better about the project. So this map was generated using the 3-dimensional data that the boomerang captured. So besides productivity analysis, mapping drones are valuable for quality control. You can get up-to-date maps from the start till the finish of the project. You can compare visual updates of as-built versus as-planned blueprints to avoid misunderstandings. If something's a few feet off, you can let the customer know early, see how big a problem it is, or you can let the contractor know and show them on the aerial map exactly where the issue is, and get their feedback and collaborate on how it's going to be fixed. And you can catch it maybe in the first day instead of weeks or months down the line when it's a huge cost has already been invested. You can do digital job site documentation to minimize liability. You can show that things were being done safely. You can show what equipment was on site at what time or what contractor was on site at one time. It gives you a firm digital record, again, to minimize liability and avoid communication, finger pointing, or misunderstandings. It provides architects and engineering teams with the site context for better results. Now, you're not just told, oh, here's this 1 acre area, build a building. You can get the high level aerial view to know, well, what's around it. You can get a 3-dimensional map to see the context and build with that in mind. Using the aerial mapping minimizes safety risks for employees on site. Rather than trying to navigate mountains or dodging cranes, you can just safely have a small drone. Our boomerang drone is just a few pounds. It's about a foot wide, and obviously it's not going to complain if the weather's hot or it's a little steep. And it really helps improve your record keeping for reference. You can retain more clients through transparency, communication, faster speed. You can reduce approval times from stakeholders. If normally it would take them a week or 2 weeks to come out to approve the project and issue the section, now you can just give them the aerial survey update. They can approve it there, and you may have same day approval, which on a big project, it may have 5 or 10 or 15 different segments of payment. Well, if each one of those takes 2 weeks to get, it's really easy for that to be the reason the project goes. And as we spoke about earlier, it helps for site risk prevention and response. So from a control perspective, you can make sure nothing's breaking and there's no disasters that are going to potentially set the site back or cause injuries or risks. And this was another nice quote from Bill Clifford at Kokosing. Identified Technologies boomerang system worked great. We had our data back faster than expected. The peace of mind we had knowing our data was current and our project was on track was invaluable. The combination of precision, 200 times faster speed, reduced cost, and increased safety checked every box for us. So we've talked about performance, we've talked about quality control, and then the last area that we believe that we really provide a value, or that mapping drones provide a value, is stakeholder communications. Using an aerial mapping drone impacts your body interactions. The ability to communicate project updates in near real time allows you to instantly reveal and solve any site misunderstandings or problems before it's too late, before a lot of time or money has been invested. That lets you retain clients by helping them understand your results. If you just saw that mountain highway fly through I did, without seeing that, if you've never been on the site, it is so hard to appreciate the scale of a job like that. And if you're a client or involved and you're pouring hundreds of $1 million into a job, if you can take them there and help them see it and feel it and appreciate it, I think they're going to be a lot more willing to work with you in the future and build that budget to make sure the job's done right and appreciate the blood and sweat that you're putting in. It helps you retain clients by helping them better understand your results. It helps you attract new clients by showing them aerial examples of past similar projects. Now, you don't just say, oh yeah, we did a hospital, or oh yeah, we did a mall. You can actually take them there and show them the before and after from maybe what was just a patch of land or a renovation project to the new finally completed project. And you can even do a time lapse showing them how the project evolved over time. Using drone mapping lets you differentiate yourself from the competition as a tech leader. It's giving you tools that other people aren't offering in the industry, and it gives you and your clients peace of mind, knowing that you're all on the same page, that the job will be done quickly, that it'll be done with no surprises. As I said earlier, it saves the clients time. Instead of maybe having to, again, we're based on the East Coast. I was just talking to an architecture firm where they were having to fly out to California every single week, all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast, to check in on a project. Basically, all their time was being spent in travel. It was really expensive. And now you can just bring the data to them. They can see the project updates day to day, week to week, and that's multiple days and hotel stays and cross country plane tickets that they're not having to pay for, and they really really appreciate it. And then most importantly, this guarantees that the project's done right. That's the most important thing, and the clients will appreciate that and appreciate the peace of mind and the quality that you give them. We had a nice quote from John Mackin at Mascaro Construction. He's a project manager there. And he said that basically our progress reports allowed his company to discover discrepancies faster, which related to quantities and costs that could be addressed sooner with the site owner. So he said, we initially had outdated topographical maps when we budgeted for the earthwork on our job site. Our estimates were 20% off in the wrong direction. And if you're a construction project manager, you've probably been there. You've probably had old, outdated maps that were wrong and not found out till it was a little too late. And he said, John said, we were the ones that had to absorb that risk and error. I wish we had identified technology's data before we started. And in reference to working with us, he said the Boomerang is a great tool for quality control reporting and measuring cut and fills. You can quickly capture and share permanent records and avoid quantity and cost discrepancies with clients. It's especially valuable for large areas that might be hard for an individual to access, such as elevated areas or difficult terrain. So again, you get into everything we've discussed, the time savings, the cost savings, the client retention, the peace of mind, and the safety issue of now you're not sending your employees out to hazardous areas that are dangerous, that can, cause injuries, but you're letting the drone do the work. In terms of what sets us apart, our Boomerang drone is autonomous. It flies itself. It's very robust. It can fly safely in rain and 33-mile-per-hour winds. It's very consistent. And if anything goes wrong, we would just overnight you a replacement. Free. It's included with the lease. So if there's ever a problem, it's not going to slow you down. It's not going to cause surprise, unexpected costs. We have a dock station called the launch pad that will actually swap out the batteries for you. So if you want it to be completely hands-off, then you won't even need to swap out the batteries for it. This will take care of that. You will never have to even touch the drone whatsoever. And we have our cloud dashboard system that lets you process, it automatically processes and gives you access to high resolution 2D and 3D maps, sophisticated collaboration and analytics, secure sharing, and it exports to all leading mapping software formats. So whatever you're using today, you can keep using, and you're still going to own all your data. And when you compare that to standard aerial, manned surveyors, or building your own system, there are some pretty strong advantages. We handle all the FAA legal requirements. We let you survey multiple job sites simultaneously and rapidly expand out across operations. You can map 100-acre job sites in less than 10 minutes. With us, you can be operational in about 72 hours. If you build your own systems, then it usually takes about 6 to 18 months just to get the FAA approval and tech set up. And with us, the monthly lease plan, as I said, includes drone replacements, free software updates, free upgraded drones. So you're always using the most up-to-date cutting-edge model. If you just go out and buy a decent mapping drone yourself, maybe 50 grand, if it crashes, you're out 50 grand. You got to go buy another one. And if that drone's obsolete in 2 years, then it's obsolete. With us, you always have the most cutting edge. And even if you don't want to use our services, we're still here to help. We offer webinars, workshops, safety training. We're experts in FAA regulation. We have a full team devoted just for that. We include millions of dollars of general liability insurance. We have expertise in local solutions, remote solutions, and we offer premium support and the lifetime product warranty. So whatever questions you have, if even if we're not the right person, we'd love to help you, be a part of that conversation, and point you in the right direction. So with that, I know you're all busy, and I want to thank you for your time, and I'd like to open it up for Q&A. So if you haven't already, please sign up. Right below the video here is a chat role, so you can sign up anonymously and start putting in questions. And I'd ask you either now or after the webinar is over, please take a moment and you can win a free month of automatic drone surveying. So basically the survey only takes a minute or two. And what it does is just let us know what we should be focusing on for our next product features and what your specific needs are. So if you fill that out, it'll go a long way to help us make sure we're designing the best possible solution for your needs and putting our resources and time into the areas that you'll appreciate. And you may win a free month of drone mapping. So with that, I'll give you a few minutes to open it up for Q&A. And if you found this helpful and you think other people might enjoy it, I'll probably in the next day or two be sending out a link to the recording of this webinar so you can share it with others. And on this page, a few links down is the white paper for it. So you can download that. It's free. You can share it with any friends or coworkers that you think might be interested or other people in your organization. And if you do have any follow-up questions, either that I can't answer in the frequently asked questions or that come to you later, please just take a moment, click the Contact Us button at the top right of our website. Let us know a little bit about what your questions or use cases are, and you can expect to be contacted back very quickly. Okay, I see some great questions coming in here. Okay. So one person said, well, sense and avoid and thermal imaging are already on the market. So there's some drones starting to experiment with them. As far as I know, we're the only sort of autonomous solution to use them. And it's still very cutting edge. People are just sort of experimenting and beta testing. But yeah, we're almost there with it, and we're excited to be able to offer it as an automated solution. In terms of aerial targets, okay, great question. So someone asked, during your explanation of the site setup, you mentioned only having to set out aerial targets one time. Are you saying you only need them one time? So what it is you do need aerial targets on each flight as long as you're looking for precision data, but you only have to set them out once. So let's say you're doing a 100-acre site, you'd put down the ground control points, aerial targets, and they would just stay there as long as you were mapping the site. You would never have to move them. You would never have to change anything. And then so that job of laying the ground control points only has to be done once. Oh, great question. Okay, someone asked, how much work do you have to do with the docking station for the drone? Do you have to change the battery? Is it changing the battery? Is it charging the battery? What's it doing? Well, it's actually doing both. So it charges the battery, it pulls out the old spent battery, it takes it, it puts it in a rotating charger, it pops in a fully charged new battery, and your drone's good to go. So in fact, even if you have a large area that can't be captured in one flight, then the drone can still automatically just keep coming back, charging up with new batteries until the entire job is done. Someone had a question about infrastructure inspection, railroads, bridges. So I'll sort of and accident. So we've done accident and catastrophe inspections. For bridges, we can do any kind of aerial overhead inspection. So bridges are fine. Rails, roads, all that. We've done a lot of highway related jobs, like the Kokosing one that you saw about. So if you have sort of specific questions on infrastructure, let me know. But that's definitely in our wheelhouse. Um, in terms of flying beyond line of sight, right now you're still supposed to have somebody watching the drone. We haven't had any problems, but just the FAA's preference is that you do have someone who has eyes on it. So most sites, even if it's a 100-acre site, you can still have line of sight on the drone. But I mean, it's self-piloting, so you just kind of hang out and watch it do its work. There's no issues with OSHA in terms of workers working underneath. On most job sites, you have to have a construction helmet, and we've never had drones dropping out of the sky or anything like that. And the drones have, as I mentioned, they're very, very small. They're about a foot in diameter and about 3 pounds. And if you compare, if something ever did happen and one fell, if you compare the damage that would do versus, a plane or a helicopter falling out of the sky, there's no comparison. So on net and safety, you're much, much better off having a drone doing your inspections than subjecting a manned survey team to a hazardous area trying to navigate power tools, ditches, and steep mountains. So someone asked, if you want to map 100 acres in just 9 minutes, what's the altitude and what's the corresponding ground sample distance? I think our altitude can vary a little bit site to site. And part of the reason for that is, let's say you have a tall crane, we can adjust our altitude to make sure that we're going to steer clear of it. I believe on the site that I mentioned that was in 9 minutes with Seneca, I believe our altitude was around 200 to 300. In terms of the corresponding ground sample distance, I don't know what it was on that job, but I know that's also something that can be variable. So that means if you need extreme accuracy, and for a lot of the jobs we do, they just need it down to a few inches. That's enough. It doesn't really matter more than that. But if you need even more than that, we can do it, and we can tighten up our ground sampling distance really as much as you need. In terms of the mean time between failure, we really haven't had any issues. So, we're working with big companies. We've been around since 2013, and I'm proud to say no injuries, no problems. We do work with companies outside the U.S. Oh, okay. Great question. If there is a problem, can we shut it off? Such a good question. So our drone has a lot of safety redundancy in it. So the boomerang, if something does go wrong, it will automatically just go back to where it took off if it loses signal or something like that. If it can't do that for some reason, it will automatically just come down for a safe, controlled, slow landing. If for some reason that doesn't work, it has a tracking beacon built in, so the drone isn't lost. And if something goes just totally haywire, which hasn't happened, but we built it in just in case, there's a kill switch. So even though you don't have to physically fly the thing, you have a controller with a button on it that will just turn the thing off, and automatically it'll just land itself. So if there ever was a problem on site, technologically, or it was misbehaving, right in your hand, you have the power down button. And hopefully the peace of mind that comes with that. Okay, great question. One guest asked, is it legally permitted to utilize drone mapping in North Carolina, particularly around Raleigh or the RDU International Airport? So we have a complete FAA flight team that has spent their entire careers sort of in the FAA and piloting industry, what I would ask is please contact us, give us the exact KMLs or area that you're looking at, and we can tell you. You're legally not allowed by the FAA to do drone flights within a couple of miles of a major international airport. So if you're saying you have a job and it's 50 feet away from an airport or a mile away, we probably can't help on that particular job. But other than that, most areas are legal and most areas are fine as long as you have a 333 exemption, which we do. So in terms of the restrictions about airports, I would say please contact us. Just take the minute, let us know a little bit more about the specific area that you're interested in, and we can give you a specific answer on if we can fly. But as a general rule, if it's within a few miles of an airport, it might be a problem. Anything else is fair game. We had a question, does the drone take video as well, or is it all mapping and pictures? So it's certainly capable of videos. Most of our applications that people are asking us for are for the different data types that we've discussed: contour maps, digital surface models, orthomosaics, but it is also capable of capturing videos if you want. We can also make videos like the fly-through of the Kokosing job site. So even if we're capturing a 3D model, we can actually build a video that's interactive with kind of a pre-planned movement as well. We had a question. I understand a NOTAM has to be filed, so that's basically a notice to the FAA that you're doing the flight. It has to be filed prior to any flights. Do we file it? We do. We take care of that for you. We had a question on data. So I would expect that the total image data set would be very large, likely 5 to 10 gigs. How quickly can the files be uploaded to the cloud service? I'm concerned that the upload could take over a day, not immediately. So it does depend on the exact job site. Obviously, a 100-acre job site is going to go a little faster than a 1,000-acre job site. But we use we mostly are sort of a proprietary end-to-end solution, but we do use, I don't know how familiar you are with the secure Amazon Web Services, but you can basically tap into supercomputers and just sort of rent them. And that's how we do some of our processing if we ever have more than we can do internally. So we'll just sort of temporarily rent a just massive GPU that can just churn through data that would take normal computers, literally weeks. And instead we can get it back in a few hours. So I'd say most jobs, if it's not done in an hour, or in a few hours, there's nothing I've seen that's taken more than a day. If you had a job that you were concerned about that absolutely had to be turned around in a day, then let us know, and probably we would just need to rent a more powerful supercomputer. But I mean, there's virtually infinite processing power out there. And the turnaround time that we're used to with our clients, a lot of them say they're used to getting their data back in 3 months, in 2 months. So for us, if we're getting it back in a day or two, usually they're ecstatic and doing backflips. If it makes a huge difference to you whether you get it back in 1 day or in same day service, just contact us. And if that's a priority for you, let us know and we'll try to make it happen for you. One guest asked about oil and gas sector. So we do a lot with that, particularly because we're based in Pittsburgh, PA, which is really the center of the Marcellus gas and Marcellus oil region. And a lot of our clients are in that sector. So we can help mapping impoundment ponds. We can help with well pads. We can help with pipeline inspections. Anything that involves construction, excavation, earth moving, infrastructure tracking, our tools can be useful for, particularly as built versus as plans, orthomosaics, and volumetric analysis. Again, if you have specific questions on oil and gas or specific applications, I'd ask you please take the minute, contact us, and just tell us a little bit more about your needs, and we'll see if we can help you. And again, definitely check out the white paper. And in future events, we can cover whatever topics are most relevant to you. So feel free when you contact us, uh, let me know. Hey, I'm really curious about, say, oil and gas. Could you do a webinar just on that, going really deep in the different applications and use cases and going through case studies or whatever it might be? Just let us know what you want to see, and we'll try to go in depth on it. Another question is the computer data analysis being done automatically, or is it limited to the availability and work of people on your company? So at this point, much to the joy of a lot of our tech team, almost everything's automated. So you still have people to talk to if you have any questions. We're here for you. The customer service isn't automated, but the behind the scenes processing, the data capture, the geocoding, the data storage and warehousing and secure sharing, all that's automatic. And it doesn't matter whether you're doing, one flight a month or 100 flights a day. Again, basically, we just scale up by getting more servers, but it's not something that we have to physically interact with. So with that, it's noon. I want to let you guys get to lunch. I want to be sensitive to your time, but I genuinely appreciate you giving me your time and attention today. I'd ask, again, if you haven't already, please do take the minute to click the link below, win a free month of aerial drone surveys. Just tell us a little bit more about what your needs are. It'll help us plan the new features and prioritize the new features that we add. And you stand an excellent chance of winning a free month of aerial drone surveys. And if you think we could be a good fit for you, please click the Contact Us button. Tell us a little bit more about your needs. And we'll be reaching out to basically answer any questions you have and help any way we can. And then last, I will be sending out a recording of this webinar. And if you think anyone you work with or anyone you know might be interested or might be a good fit, please share it with them. Share the white paper right below with them. And I just want to thank you all for your time. So again, my name is Barry Rabkin. I'm the CMO of Identified Technologies. I really, really, really appreciate your time and attention today. I hope you found it valuable. It's been great